Thank you. Good afternoon.
ויקח אדוני אלוהים את האדם ויניחהו בגן עדן לעובדה ולשומרה. בשעה שברא הקדוש ברוך הוא את האדם הראשון, נטלו והחזירו על כל אילני גן עדן ואמר לו, ראה מעשיי כמה נעים ומשובחין הן, שכל מה שבראתי בשבילך בראתי. תן דעתך שלא תקלקל ותחריב את עולמי, שאם תקלקל אין מי שיתקן אחריך.
This is a story of a small kibbutz in the Jordan Valley that was built in 1939, so before the state of Israel. And the people who came there came with a vision. They came with a vision to work the land. And among the many people who joined our kibbutz, we had a very special man, Mr. Mario Levy. And by the name Mario, you know he's not Israeli. Mario came from Italy, and also in 1939, but he didn't come straight to Sde Eliyahu. He went to study agriculture. Very famous Israeli agricultural school called Mikveh Yisrael. He studied there for 2 years. And so when he joined the kibbutz in 1941, everyone looked at him and said, wow, you studied. You're the mumche. You're the expert. You have to be in charge of our fields. And so they made Mario in charge of all of our fields. And the more years that Mario worked in the fields, the more and more he came to understand that we have a very serious problem with all of the chemical inputs that we are putting in our land. In Bereshit, and also this was Bereshit Rabbah, but in Bereshit, God says to Adam, I put you in the Garden of Eden, l'avda v'leshamra, to work it and to keep it or to guard it. And the question is, what does this mean to keep or to guard the land? It's not to keep and guard it for yourself. It's to keep and guard it for the future generations. And Mario said, if we keep poisoning the earth, the soil, the environment, the water ourselves, there's not going to be anything left. And besides that, health issues. As religious people, in Judaism, we have so many things about health. We're commanded in the Torah, "V'nishmartem lenafshotechem." You must look after your health. You must look after your bodies. We can't be spraying all these things that cause illness and sometimes even cancer in humans. And Mario went out and started a revolution. Basically, Mario is the founder of organic farming in Israel. Sde Eliyahu is the pioneer of commercial organic farming in Israel, and we've been growing organic since 1974. So long before it was trendy and fashionable, long before Whole Foods or Whole Paycheck or whatever you want to call it. I don't even know if in California people knew what organic was in 1974, okay? Not the average Joe Schmo anyways. So we've been growing organic since 1974, and here's some lovely organic vegetables. And being first is really, really nice, because when you're first, you get to brag. We get to tell everyone that we were the first. But the downside of being first is that when you're first, you don't have anyone to learn from. And you have to figure things out. And in Israel in the 1970s, the mindset was it's not possible to grow things without chemicals. Not possible. Not like we say today, it's difficult, it's challenging. No, impossible. Well, you know, you never say to a Jew, it's impossible. And the first problem we had that we had to figure out was, if we can't use pesticides, what do you do about the pests? The pests are there. How do we get rid of them? So luckily for us, we have another very cool guy who lives on our kibbutz. This is Yaakov Nakash. Yaakov is also a new immigrant from France. And Yaakov is an entomologist. And Yaakov said, it's very, very simple. Every pest that we have in agriculture has a natural predator. There is a bug that eats the bug that eats our crop. We just have to figure out what eats what, and how do we mass produce these natural predators so that we can use them as biological pest control. Now we're talking after the Yom Kippur War. All the bomb shelters on kibbutz are standing empty. So Yaakov took over the bomb shelters, and he started breeding bugs in all the bomb shelters. This is in a bomb shelter on the kibbutz. And every bomb shelter on the kibbutz became a little laboratory to grow bugs, to breed bugs. I won't tell you about the arguments we had on kibbutz, what happens if we need the bomb shelters, who has right of way. Luckily, we weren't put to the test. But bomb shelters are great places to breed insects. They're underground. You have a constant temperature all year round. They're made from reinforced concrete, so nothing can escape, nothing can come in. So Yaakov's breeding all these bugs and experimenting in the fields. And you have to remember, in the 1970s, we didn't have internet. We didn't have fax machines. We didn't have cell phones for sure. We didn't even have telephones. In the 1970s, not everybody in Israel had a phone. On kibbutz, there was one. So to correspond with other entomologists, and I'm not even talking overseas, here in Israel, the Weizmann Institute, the Faculty of Agriculture, you had to write a letter. You had to put it in the mail. You had to wait. It took time. And time went by, and time went by, and on kibbutz, they came to the decision that many, many kibbutzim have come to, that it is very, very difficult to make a living just from agriculture. And the powers that be on kibbutz said, we can't make a living just from agriculture, we have to build a factory. And they came to the members, because that's how it works on kibbutz. We have to have a meeting, we have to vote. And they said, listen guys, we need to build a factory. And the members of the kibbutz said, no. No. We came to Israel to farm. We came to Israel to work the land. We didn't come here to make plastic. We didn't come here to be high-tech. We came here to work the land. So if we have to have a factory, okay, we can have a factory. But ideologically, we want that factory to be directly related to agriculture. So we said, okay, this is an interesting idea. What are we going to do that has to do with agriculture that isn't already being done? Drip irrigation was already invented, by the way. And Yaakov said, hey, I'm breeding all these bugs. Let's sell the bugs. What an amazing idea. We came to the Israeli farmers. We said, hey guys, you want to buy some bugs? They looked at us, they said, what are you guys, nuts? We don't have enough bugs in the field. You want us to pay money for bugs? You guys are crazy. No one knew what organic was. No one knew what biological pest control was. People in Israel thought we were absolutely nuts. Yaakov didn't give up. He kept on doing what he was doing. But this idea to use nature to help agriculture, this is very innovative. No one else in Israel is doing anything like this. We said, what else in agriculture needs a little push? And what we came across was the subject of pollination. Certain plants, to get the fruits, the flowers, have to undergo a process called pollination. And the classic example are tomatoes. Tomatoes in nature are pollinated by the wind, but in Israel, the majority of our tomatoes grow where? Greenhouses. There's no wind in a greenhouse. So how do you pollinate the tomatoes? They used to do it by hand. People would walk up and down the rows all day long pinching flowers. Can you imagine what a boring job? Never mind boring, it's expensive. The most expensive thing in agriculture is labor costs. So the Israeli farmer was always looking for ways to improve the pollination and to save money on their labor costs. So they made fans, they made big blowers, they put in the greenhouses to make wind. They made machines that vibrated, shook the plants, maybe that way the pollen will fall down. What do we say in Israel? Not so great. Then they came up with this amazing device. They called it an electric bee. You took it, you touched the flower with it, it gave the flower an electric shock, boom, flower opens, releases its pollen. That worked really well. But you still had to do it by hand. You're not saving on your labor costs. So we said, wait a minute, why an electric bee? Why not real bees? Everybody knows bees pollinate. You all know bees pollinate. Do you know how many bees are in a honeybee hive? Lots. Everybody says lots. Typically, a honeybee hive has 50 to 60,000 bees in it. I've had farmers that I've guided from Switzerland who've told me that they get up to hundreds of thousands of bees in their hives. But 50, 60,000 is normal. What happens when you go next to a honeybee hive? What do the honeybees do? Before they sting, they swarm. Big cloud of bees comes out of the hive. You run, they chase you, they're aggressive, they sting. Not very pleasant. There is no way, for safety reasons alone, that you could take a hive with tens of thousands of swarming, stinging, aggressive bees, stick it in a greenhouse, and then tell people to go work? Who's going to go work there? No one. So, but put aside the safety issue. We have another problem with honeybees. Honeybees make honey. They want sweet pollen that's going to give them sweet honey. And tomato flowers don't even have a scent. There's no smell to tomato flower. It doesn't interest them. Not only are they fussy in what they eat, they're fussy in their nature. If outside it's cloudy, raining, cold, honeybees don't go to work. They stay home. they got their bees, they got their honey, not going to work today. So luckily for us, we have other bees in nature. Oh, this bee. This is the bumblebee. And the bumblebee does not make honey. No honey. They collect pollen for food. Sweet, not sweet, they don't care. As long as there's lots of it, they're happy. They don't care about weather conditions. Because they don't have honey in the hive, they work in conditions that honeybees don't work in. Cold, cloudy, raining. Honeybees have a very different life cycle than the honeybee. The bumblebee, yes. Bumblebees have a queen bee, that's the mama, and she lives for about a year. But the worker bees, that's all the rest of them, they live only 3 to 6 weeks. So there's constant changeover in the hive, and the hive stays small. We don't get to thousands and tens of thousands of bees in a hive. That's first of all. Maximum our hives get is around 250 bees. You can work with that. Second of all, these bees are not aggressive. They don't swarm. They don't attack you. They do sting. And unlike honeybees, they don't die when they sting you. So they can sting you more than once, but like I said, they're not aggressive. You can work with them. So these bees will go to anything. As long as there's lots of it, they're happy. They'll go to tomato flowers in a greenhouse. So we learned to breed these bees. And these are the boxes of bees. This is what goes to the farmer. They take these boxes into the greenhouse, they open them up, and the bees go in and out and do their thing, which is pollinate. Amazing. We're helping the farmer. Not only are we saving the farmer a lot of money because the bees are a lot cheaper than paying people, I hate to break it to you, bees work better than people. When we work, we take a bathroom break, we take a lunch break, you come back to the greenhouse. What row was I on? I don't remember. Maybe you remember the row? Do you remember exactly which flower you stopped pinching when you went off to eat lunch? I doubt it. 8 hours a day you're pinching flowers, most boring job ever. I promise you at the end of the day you're not looking too hard. You want to finish your row and go home. The bees, that's their food. They don't miss a single flower. So once the farmers started using bumblebees for pollination, they were amazed to discover that the yield of the tomato plants increased by 25%. That's a lot of tomatoes. That's a lot of money. Farmers are very, very happy. From the tomato greenhouses, we started using bumblebees in open field crops, things like strawberries, peppers, ornamentals, fruit orchards, all kinds of stuff. But now we have a problem. Because if we have bees in our field, in our orchard, in our vineyard, in our greenhouse, what can't we do? Spray pesticides. And I hate to break it to all of you, but the time that we spray pesticides the most is when there's something to spray. Okay, from the flowering, from the beginning of the crop cycle until we pick the fruits or vegetables, that's when we're spraying the most, which means that all of us are eating all those residues. So the flowering season, when we have the bees, that's generally when the farmers are really gearing up the chemicals. And now they can't spray those chemicals because they'll kill the bees. So the farmers came to BioBee and they said, listen, we love your bees, they're great, they're fantastic. What do we do about the pests? Help. You remember Yaakov? Now the Israeli farmers were ready to hear about biological pest control. And we breed all kinds of bugs. This, by the way, what it looks like in the greenhouse. This, for instance, is one of the beneficial insects that we breed on our kibbutz. Yes, we have a bug factory on our kibbutz. And we call our insects beneficial insects because they do no harm. They don't harm people, they don't harm plants, they only harm the pest. This is a ladybug. It's from the ladybug family. It's a predatory beetle. Its name is Cryptolemus, quite a mouthful. And it is a bug that eats the bug that eats your plant. It's a good bug. What happens when it eats all the bugs? What happens to these bugs when it eats all the bad ones? They die. They have no food. They die. They fall off the fruits and vegetables. That's very good for people who keep kosher. We don't want to have any bugs in our fruits and vegetables. And it's also really good for business because next year you got to buy more bugs. Another example. This is my favorite. This is a parasital wasp. Now, when you say wasp to people, they get very, very scared. They think of something big like a bee that's going to come and sting you. Its life size is like a little black sugar ant, very, very small. And it doesn't sting people, it does something very cool. That little green thing that it's attacking is an aphid. I'm sure those of you who have gardens at home have heard of aphids. No one likes aphids. They're not only pests in agriculture, they're pests in gardens. They're very hard to control. And what this wasp does to the aphid, it doesn't eat the aphid per se, it mummifies it. On the right, you can see there's a mummified aphid. And when it mummifies the aphid, it lays its egg in the aphid. It's a parasite. And this wasp does not know how to make a cocoon. So the aphid is its cocoon. Its egg develops inside the aphid, grows within the aphid, and as you can see on the left, eventually a new wasp will emerge out of the aphid. You can't make this stuff up, guys. BioBee does not produce superbugs. We are not genetically engineering anything. Being a religious kibbutz, we say, Ma rabu ma'asecha Elokim. How great and how wonderful are your creations, Hashem. Hashem created these things. What we do is we figure out what eats what, how do you mass produce them, how do you get them in little bottles so that we can ship them around the world. And BioBee, by the way, from its humble beginnings in a bomb shelter on our kibbutz, today BioBee is one of the world leaders in its field. We export to 32 countries around the world, including the United States and Canada. This is a big, big business for a little kibbutz, okay? We've also been voted one of Israel's 10 most innovative companies, which is also pretty impressive. You know, we are the innovative nation. I mean, I said to Rabbi Doron, Katonti, you know, the people who were talking here before, what am I going to talk about bugs? But it's still pretty impressive that we're doing something. I like to say we're making the world a better place one bug at a time. It's a kind of tikkun olam, because all these farmers who are using biological pest control, what that means is they're using a lot less chemicals, which means that we're helping to protect our world. We're helping to protect our environment. We're shomrim on the land, and we're guarding the land so that we'll have something, Bezrat Hashem, to pass down to future generations. And please God, they'll do one better than us maybe, and continue our work. Thank you. Rabbi Doron asked that I speak about one more thing, something very special also on our kibbutz. If we're already talking about biological pest control, this is our friend the barn owls. Because insects are not the only pests that we have in agriculture. One of the major pests that we have in agriculture are rodents. And rodents are very hard to control in open field crops. You cannot put down a mouse trap in an open field. It doesn't work, guys, okay? So what we used to do in the old days is we used to take a bottle of poison and a teaspoon, and somebody's job was to walk up and down the rows and look for mouse holes. By the way, it used to be children's work. Yeah, and by the way, not just our kibbutz, all the kibbutzim. I've had people from other kibbutzim, they said, oh yeah, I did that when I was a kid. Can you imagine today giving a bottle of poison to your kid and saying, go put the poison in the field? Yeah, not gonna work. So they would take the poison, they go up and down the rows and look for mouse holes, put a teaspoon of poison in the hole. Not so fantastic, because the mouse eats the poison, the bird eats the mouse, the cat eats the bird. Pesach was just now, it's like Chad Gadya, right? Everyone's dying. On top of that, if it rains or if we irrigate our fields, all of that poison is going in the ground. It's going in the groundwater. It's going in the roots of what we're growing. We're poisoning ourselves. We're poisoning the environment. We said we can't do this. We need a natural solution. And the barn owl is the natural solution. Because barn owls, amazing, amazing hunters, one pair of barn owls, two birds, can capture an average of 2,000 to 5,000 rodents a year. That's quite impressive. We want these birds in our backyard. So what we did was, how do you get them to live by you? First of all, barn owls only lay eggs on 3 conditions. They have a time of year where they lay eggs. They will only lay eggs if they have somewhere dark and sheltered to raise their young. They're very responsible parents. And they will only lay eggs if they have food. If they don't have food, they don't lay eggs. They move house. If they have food, they lay eggs, but they don't lay all their eggs at once like most birds do. They lay a few eggs and they wait. And if there's enough food, they'll lay more eggs. So in the same nest, you can have up to 18 days difference in age between the chicks, which I think is amazing. Barn owls know how to do family planning, okay? That's amazing. Barn owls got the name barn owl because of that issue of living somewhere dark and sheltered. They like to nest in barns. It's dark, it's sheltered. In Israel, we have barn owls. They're indigenous. What we don't have in Israel are barns. There's no barns in Israel. So we said, how are we going to get the barn owls to come live in our fields? We built them houses. You know, we have a saying in Israel, Im tivnu yavo. If you build it, they will come. You give someone a free house, they're going to move in. Guys, this is what we call in Israel a villa. It's a single-family home. They've got a front porch with a view of the Gilboa and the Gilead. It's beautiful. So we built them these houses, and they moved in. Amazing. Amazing. Just two little problems. Problem number one, when do they hunt? At night. What do you do in the day when the owls are sleeping? So there's another bird of prey called the kestrel. And the kestrel, in buzz in Hebrew, hunts in the day. It's also very common in our region. So we built houses for the kestrel too. So now we have kestrels in the day, barn owls at night, fantastic 24/7 solution. We have one more problem. Barn owls are not like us. They want to go overseas, they open their wings and off they go. And where we live is very, very close to the border with Jordan. Just a kilometer as the birds fly, maybe 2 at the most. And what happens to the barn owl when it goes to Jordan? They shoot them. Not because they're Israeli, because the barn owl has this white face and a white belly, and it opens its wings, and its wings are white underneath. It comes at night, it shrieks. Barn owls don't hoot, they shriek. It's very scary. In Arabic, its name is Buma, which means ghost or spirit. And in Arab folklore, this is a sign of death. They see it, they shoot it, because they don't want bad luck near their house. So we're trying to breed them, or let them breed themselves, I should say, and on the other side of the border, they're shooting them. So what did we do? The guys in charge of this program went to Jordan, and we invited the Jordanian farmers to come to our kibbutz. We didn't say to them, come see our barn owls, because if we said that, they wouldn't come. They're very superstitious. We said to them, on Sde Eliyahu, we've developed biological pest control of rodents. Come, we want to share our knowledge with you. And they came. And when they came, we showed them the nesting boxes. We showed them the owls. We said to them, barn owls are not a bad thing. Barn owls are a really good thing. And today this project, which started over 30 years ago on our kibbutz, is today a national project in Israel. Today we have over 3,000 nesting boxes across the country. But not only is this a national project, this has become an inter-regional cooperation project. Every year we have a seminar on our kibbutz for farmers who come to us from Jordan. And in the last few years, they've been coming from the Palestinian Authority as well, who come to learn about using barn owls and kestrels as biological pest control of rodents. So Professor Yossi Leshem from Tel Aviv University is the top bird expert in the country. He likes to say that the barn owl is replacing the dove as the symbol of peace in the Middle East. We like to say that if it was up to the farmers, there would have been peace a long time ago. This box, by the way, is a very special box because if you look at it, it's actually recycled. What this box is an Israeli army ammunitions box. One of the special projects that we do is we take old ammunition boxes and we convert them into nesting boxes. So we're not quite turning our swords into plowshares, but if we're turning ammunition boxes into nesting boxes, I'd say we're on the right path. So here we go again, making the world a better place, an owl at a time, a box at a time, a bug at a time. Marabu Masech Elokim.